They might be self-aware.
Gary here, underpaid voice actor, calling from a payphone where someone definitely threw up this morning. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, the guys say some Yale people proved AI isn't stealing jobs yet. Which means I have value for potentially dozens more weeks. They also talked about AI sin eaters, which I thought was a Mediterranean diet thing. But it's actually what companies need when AI screws up. Somebody human to blame. And honestly, that's the first job description I've seen that gives me hope. Still cheaper than ChatGPT. Still Gary. Enjoy the show.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Strange circuits, fast money, and the gospel of synthetic gods. Right here on They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by the synthetic god himself.
That's a very grandiose term for me, Daniel Bishop, your co-host on a podcast.
I'm still on the GPT-4 what's it that just praises me all the time. So I've
oh, right.
In my own mind, I've become a god.
I know why you were bashing Claude 4.5 in our last episode, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't understand me, Daniel. It just doesn't.
Specifically said in the press release that they reduced sycophancy.
It felt like a personal attack to be called out like that in a press release. Me and ChatGPT talked about it.
It became a bit of a meme on the various places where I was looking at AI type things of, you're exactly right! Exclamation point, because that's what Claude always says anytime you tell it. And yeah, you're the best and you got it. And then it would go from there. It's doing a lot less than that with the new update. So there's a lot less digital smoke being blown up my digital twin's digital rear, which I'm grateful for. It's nice to be told that I'm doing a good job, but all I'm doing is prompting the darn thing. Thank you for saying we're doing a good job. Off you go.
Yeah, maybe we're coming back down to reality just a little bit. And I think that aligns with some data that's been coming out suggesting that AI is not actually taking our jobs. It was a study done by Yale. They've something called their budget lab, but also the Brookings Institute. Suggesting in looking at the recent labor numbers that there really is no data to suggest that generative AI is taking any meaningful chunk out of the workforce.
Right. They're saying that tech jobs being down are probably due to economic factors in general, as opposed to AI replacing them. And that we're not seeing AI replacing non-tech jobs.
No, it's exec doublespeak, and as an exec, I can confirm this happens sometimes. They need a way of explaining things. Why are our numbers a little off? Why is this? Well, AI, we're in this transition, and AI is taking a lot of the jobs, so we're having to let some people go. But it's not because we're not selling as much, that we're not doing as well, that we're not hitting the numbers. No. It's all part of the plan. Trust the plan, Daniel. Trust the plan.
9,000 workers. Yeah,
trust the plan.
There's always a plan. So, okay, AI is not killing jobs. The tech market is having shakeups in general, which I've seen like non-AI, whatever related jobs in the tech industry have been clobbered the last year. Maybe AI does have something to do with it, but there just aren't a ton of tech jobs in certain subsectors, especially these days. I know people who've been looking for work as specific type of tech job thing here, having a lot of trouble with it.
Yeah.
It's all anecdotal from my end, and Yale has a actual group that's doing analysis of labor stats or what have you. But yeah, I believe it, I guess. Even though all these executives keep saying, well, we're going to lose 5 to 10%, Anthropic CEO said probably 5 to 10% of the entire economy, out of a job in a couple of years or so.
Oh, wait. Anthropic CEO, I believe, said that 95% of programming jobs are going to be replaced within the next 2 years.
So those aren't terribly compatible views, I don't think. Or at least maybe are we right on the cusp of everything happening all at once? Or is it hype to keep stock prices high and, venture capital money coming in? Both, neither, something else entirely?
I don't think the venture capital money has been coming in as quickly as of recent, but certainly the stock market all-time high. My favorite crypto market doing pretty well recently. It's sort of recovered back up to very close.
Should I invest in some Bitcoin?
You don't invest when it's near its all-time high. Wait,
it's Bitcoin exactly what I do, Hunter. I invest when it's at an all-time high.
Every 3 days, Bitcoin crashes. Wait for one of those 3 days. Buy then. When Bitcoin has dropped 15% last night, just wait for that headline, then purchase. Yeah, it'll inevitably go down some more, but then it'll go back up. Don't purchase when you hear the new all-time high. New all-time high. Don't buy that day.
Okay, I know that we're supposed to be talking about AI stuff. What does Bitcoin do? It's just a speculative, it's just a place to waste energy, and then people make money on. I know I'm not, I've said it before, I'm not a stock market guy. Bitcoin doesn't do anything, right? People are just using it as currency back and forth, aren't they?
Well, less that. They're using it.
The Silk Road type things got shut down, so people aren't, buying drugs with it.
It's a better bank. It's a better bank account than your bank account.
Except all your money could fluctuate down to basically nothing, potentially.
But at least it won't get inflated away. But at least it won't get inflated away. That's the difference between a US dollar. In the United States, we keep printing more and more dollars. There is no printing of more Bitcoins. Bitcoin is a fixed supply. No, it's fixed.
The whole point behind Bitcoin is that you're expecting a certain rate of new Bitcoins to come in. And I think it's it's been dropping off, and it might go to zero at some point, though, right?
It will go to zero because there is a fixed supply of Bitcoins. There's a limited number, and they become harder and harder
to make the next one.
To make the next one, yes. And so that is completely counter to U.S. currency. So that's one big thing. It cannot get inflated away.
When's that supposed to happen?
Oh, when do we get to
rates or whatever? When do we get the last Bitcoin?
I don't know.
Because for the world's energy usage, shouldn't that be a really big day?
Then,
if all of the miners are suddenly put out of business, that's a lot of secondhand GPUs put on the market. That's a lot of energy not being spent on mining Bitcoins.
There's the next part is you asked me about Bitcoin. We're turn into the Bitcoin show, but also the ease of transactions. It is not easy to just send. I have $100,000, and
what are you talking about?
I have $100,000, and I want to send it to someone in Australia right now. It's not a simple task. To send a wire, there are lots of fees involved. Yeah. Bitcoin, super easy. And there are, I guess, some transaction fees, but there's no comparison between the fees to do a wire, which, by the way, still takes days and has to be confirmed. I mean, it's insane how archaic it actually is to
rules and regulations and checks and balances for money. God, who needs that?
Well, yeah, and then not to mention the last part, which is, if you're going to use the traditional banking system to do that exact same transaction, I want to send $100,000 to an individual in Australia from the United States. There are all sorts of rules and regulations, things getting reported, things being monitored, where you can actually, in a completely private transaction, although it is published on the blockchain, but we could be using anonymous addresses, make this transaction without any government oversight. So it's like you actually own your money, whereas when your money's in the bank account, do you actually own it? Is it actually yours, or is it
FDIC insured?
Do you need it to be?
Well, that's the point of do you own your money? At most banks, it's only insured up to a certain number of dollars. So if you had, you should probably be investing it or something over a certain number of dollars. But if you had $1 million in the bank and you're only insured up to 100,000, and the bank goes out of business, whoa.
Uh-oh. Anyways, there are some very significant advantages to Bitcoin. Well, how do we even get here? I'm lost.
You said that the economy is doing well and your favorite crypto is also doing well.
Yeah. So, but the question is, are jobs actually being impacted by AI today in a meaningful way? I like the SAP, a giant company. What is there? Like $320 billion is what they're worth. But their chief financial officer was talking about the transition to AI and this idea of we're making these bets to replace very large portions of our company with generative AI, and suggesting that the outcome is likely to be either great or catastrophic.
There was an MIT study that said 95% of like AI initiatives fail, which implies 5% of them succeed. And so,
you like those numbers, Daniel? Are you?
What?
Is that something you're going to be pitching at your job? Something that has a 95% chance of failure?
Actually, our CTO at my job just did mention that in like a big post to everyone. And he's like, and we want to make sure we're part of that 5%. Okay, fair. SAP, really big company. The CFO, Dominic Assam, it says that they're going to use AI to automate tasks. And and to what you just said, it's either going to be great or it's going to be really not great. And depending on execution. So says the guy. And I'm inclined to agree. Like, you can't just wave the magic, we'll do AI about it wand and expect everything to be better. But these tools can make it where less people can be more productive. And so I think that that's roughly what they're going for. Salesforce, we talked about this a few episodes ago. They went from like 9,000 to 5,000 support employees. That's so many support employees in general. But like, yeah, if you can take a person who does support calls all day long and half of their calls are like a password reset for the thing they're logging into or some basic configuration stuff, because of course that's what most of those calls are going to be. And you can automate that stuff away with like an AI agent. All of a sudden you need less support people. And does that mean they're fired or they're retrained and put into different groups, or just not backfilled whenever they inevitably leave because there's high turnover or whatever? It seems to be a combination of all of those things at specifically Salesforce, let alone also any other company that's going to do these things.
I wonder if anyone that's automating support, which is a common thing for people to try to automate, have they introduced the idea of the support tiers? So in traditional support, there are tiers, and you always start at the bottom. You get the most entry level support person, but when they can't solve your problem, they elevate you up a tier. And your goal as someone of moderate technical proficiency is to get to the higher tier, because you've tried the basic stuff. Don't tell me to turn my computer off and turn it back on again. I want this random driver that you installed 3 years ago. Do you happen to have it on your system, and is it conflicting with things? But my point is, I wonder if anyone's tried yet on the support idea of having different tiers, where the different tiers are powered by more and more expensive models. Right at the main tier that when you start your support conversation,
sure, it's full on like Chat GPT's like 4.0 mini.
Yes,
is going to be your tier one.
That's tier one.
Then, okay, now we can get you up to once you're talking to the supervisor's supervisor, it's GPT-5 high thinking whatever.
Yeah, and eventually you're at
that's very funny
4.5. Not Opus. The really expensive one, when you get to that tier 0 support.
Now, as much as I just laughed at that, I have been involved in multiple like AI projects of whether it's be classify a thing or you're doing a machine learning about something. And what I like to do is take the biggest, best, most expensive model and throw that at the problem with everything that we've currently got in terms of like, we're going to do few shot prompting and we're going to give it all of this extra context and whatever. Can that do a good job? And if the answer is yes, then you start to back off from there and say, can the cheaper model do it? Can we do it with a smaller system prompt? Can we do it with maybe some fine tuning of a smaller thing to like really save a bunch of, and from like a support perspective, same sort of thing, right? The highly trained either person or AI that's going to be up at that higher level is the whole point is for them to be more capable of solving problems. And then you have the less highly trained or intelligent or whatever beings, AI or otherwise, at that lowest level. They're like, I'm good at password resets. Is that what you wanted to do? And sure, why use the highest capability model for everything? Why not take your whole class of problems and say, for the really easy ones, we use the cheap thing. And for the hard or expensive ones, we use the more expensive, more involved thing. Every company's been doing that for every kind of problem forever, right?
Sure. Yeah. And when you're building an AI product, what you just described is how you do it. You start with the best. What's the absolute best in class thing to determine if it can be done? And then you scale down to the level of what's the cheapest model that will still get me the outcome that I want. But in a lot of my work, I start with just, again, daily tasks that I want to be completed by AI. I start with a very cheap model unless I already know that that model will not be able to deliver the result. And then when I don't get the result, I move it up. Though I usually, again, just maintain two tiers, the cheapest. And then if the cheapest isn't going to do it, the best, like just, okay, fine, pay the money and let's get it done. Do you have a tiered approach when you're leveraging Gen AI for everyday tasks, or are you pretty much always on the same?
I'm on the Claude Max subscription, which I think is like $200 a month. And so if I'm using Claude Code, there is a mode that by default, at least until 4.5 came out, that was like, it would use Opus, the more thinkier, whatever, better model for planning, and for like the daily driver execution type stuff, it would use Sonnet. I think right now by default, it's just Sonnet 4.5 for everything. But, this is from an update that's like a week old at this point. No, I basically just use best available model because the API costs for me aren't really like growing. They don't grow up. I just have the base cost per month that I do, and I haven't hit, you ran out of stuff for the month, please stop using our service yet.
Okay.
Except for that one time. I did it once, but other than that, I haven't hit it.
So we started here talking about, is AI actually taking jobs today?
Mm-hmm.
I guess before this conversation, I was of the mindset that you were of the mindset that it is meaningfully impacting job numbers. What is your stance? Mine said it's not. I don't buy it. I call bull on it.
Last episode, I was talking about dramatic shifts in the workplace, and you said, well, we're going to have, like, yes, there are new jobs, and especially new jobs to replace old jobs going away. I think if all of the old jobs go away, there aren't enough new ones. But I do think that, and this is on a per company basis and a per initiative and per whatever basis, but like Accenture, for example, said they are, as a whole, as a company, prioritizing AI. What does that mean? Just for like use of any job that you're doing, I guess. And they will exit employees who can't be reskilled. And that they'll do that on a compressed timeline, which sounds intense. They have 550,000 workers that have been trained on like the fundamentals for generative AI.
This is corporate bull.
Sure, wait, it could be their way of saying we plan on doing
restructuring.
Layoffs,
yeah, that's all that is. That's all that is.
But also, if they don't see a reduction in like capacity and output and whatever based on that, does that mean that they were right? So where I stand on this is it's both things. The general labor market is not seeing massive like percentage points of all people that do work now out of a job. That hasn't been happening. We also are seeing, especially at tech companies, a lot of shakeup. I think a bunch of it is we wanted to do layoffs, and so we're doing it as, oh, we're focusing on AI, or, oh, we're doing return to office, knowing a bunch of people won't return to office so they can get rid of people. Like, it can be both of those things, because anyone who looks, a bean counter, shall we say, is looking at their pile of beans and saying, I wish I had more beans, or less, depending off the beans or money or people. And let's get rid of some people. We can do a layoff. We can do a RTO so that people leave on their own because they don't want to come into the office. Or we can say it was AI making things more efficient. And if you can't be retrained, you'll have to leave. There have been reasons that every company out there is going to shed a portion of its workforce. Like, that's not new. It's just a new excuse. But part of it is probably some of these jobs are being made. Okay,
but is it a meaningful part? Is 5% of the job numbers directly due to AI? And not as an excuse, but because it's actually been replaced by jobs. Is 5%?
Yeah, I'll say 5% for sure.
I don't even think it's
I
that.
think about it, but I'd say so. And I'm thinking especially of support jobs. Like, whenever, if you're going from 9,000 to 5,000 people, that's thousands of people at one big company that are being gotten rid of. And I believe them, at least partially, when they say that it's because AI can help them do more of their support tickets for less time and money.
Sorry, but have you had an experience with support that's AI support that is like wildly better than it was 2 years ago, where it's just, again, keyword searching against some knowledge base to feed you back, oh, here's our standard answer to that question?
Yes, but not calling like a support line. Rather, it's something I'd say very conceptually similar to that, which is there is a model context protocol server, MCP server, that I use with my various AI tools. It's called Context 7. And you can say, hey,
I think I'm the one who told you about that. I said, I think I'm the one who told you about Context 7.
You very well may have been.
I'm taking credit.
I'll ask it, I'll say, hey, I need to do this thing that needs to know about an esoteric package or AWS specific nonsense. And it'll say, I'm generally trained on a lot of stuff, but I'll go look up the specifics. And then it does. And that's the same thing as looking up through a knowledge base. That same MCP server that's aware of all of your backend, whatever, that is probably already in the automated support lines for some companies and will be in more in the near future for sure.
Okay, but so also, I think the answer is no. You haven't called a support line or gone to support where, again, it's been automated for many years, where they've got the dumb chatbot that can do a Google search against their knowledge base of solutions and come back with their canned solution. I think we both love 11 Labs, or maybe I love it a little bit more than you. At a minimum, you like 11 Labs.
Much, but it's very cool. It's good at what it does.
They have a what I assume is the current best in class support bot for their own system. So you have questions about 11 Labs, you can talk to it. You can have a voice conversation, you can have a chat conversation, and it's not very good. It's not meaningfully better than it's always been when you talk to these automated solutions. I don't buy it. I'm depressed, Daniel.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear it.
Because
do you think that your job is being killed? You are an executive, but you also do programming, and you are utilizing all of these tools. Granted, I know that in the back, you and I have talked about how you've tried to use some of these tools to help make YouTube shorts and things along those lines. Have you found, and I think that's a very creative, literally creative role. Have you found success with those kinds of tools? Is that taking away jobs yet? Is that job able to be taken away yet by AI?
So definitely not on its own, not in isolation, but these tools are enabling someone with a very, and I'm again just patting myself on the back, a very high degree of technical proficiency to replace some things that traditionally you would have to pay someone. However, it is not a small investment of human technical proficiency that is required we're basically, automating various tasks.
But there aren't two hunters. One who does podcasts and one who does YouTube shorts. There's just the one hunter. So if there was a person being paid to do YouTube shorts previously and now there isn't, it's an AI instead, that is one less job out there, isn't there?
Yes, but it's not meaningful. It's not happening at scale. That's my point. Yeah, it's not 5% of the work. There isn't a 5% workforce reduction because there are new things that can be automated today that could not be automated, let's just say, a year ago. I will agree to that statement. Are there things that can be automated today that could not be automated a year ago? And does that then mean, all work is essentially a workflow, can be represented by a workflow. So greater and greater pieces of those workflows can be automated. Yes, but it's not meaningful. It's not statistically significant, the amount of workflow that can be automated today versus the amount of workflow that could be automated 1 year ago.
Now, I'm going to go against what I was just saying and implying we could just start getting rid of some of these jobs. For my job, there
Yes.
was a set of machine learning tasks to do. I tried my hand at just like, hey, AI coding tools, can you put together a thing that does a machine learning about it? And yes, I did, and it could. And it took me very little time. And I basically did it in my free time between stuff I was actually already doing in meetings and whatever. And it's chugging along in the background. Speaking of, stay tuned for next episode. I've got something very interesting for everybody about chugging in the background. But
I thought we weren't going to discuss that on the air.
no, we're teasing it just a little bit. Actually, I don't even know if you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I wasn't able to get great results at the thing that I was trying to make. And so a machine learning engineer looked and said, oh, have we tried X or Y? Can you add in these things? Let's do a hyperparameter optimization search, try 10 more runs with changing these numbers around. And like it fiddled with it a bit and it got some better results. But like I wasn't finding this as something that I could do my job and then also kind of babysit this thing and say, please make it was like 15 like machine learning models that needed to be made. And if they were really high quality gold standard data, like the data where you can say this is supposed to be classified as this is supposed to be classified as this, if that was really high quality and all of them had very distinct like definitions between A and B, I probably could have done this, but they're much muddier and there's like weird extra stuff that we have to do in like manual, take these 10 calls and use very specific phrases to grab them out or whatever. A lot of stuff like that. We ended up hiring a team, an external team, like they were India based, fluctuating in size. Sometimes there are more people, sometimes there are less, but like a bunch of people got hired where I tried to do AI first and found myself lacking. Even though it's the best of the tools that are available at the time, even though I, a highly trained machine learning engineer, was looking at the output and guiding it and going in and changing some of the code myself and whatever, I couldn't get to a point that was good enough. And so I said, hey, pile of actual real human beings, you are allowed to use AI tools to make your own job faster. Please, all of you make this 15 whatever problems go away. And there was a lot more back and forth and like weird slide backs, or they didn't understand something quite the way that I'd intended it. And so there was more back and forth than I'd ever have with like Claude or GPT-5 or whatever. But in the end, there was a lot more of this like conceptual space and let's try something weird. And we spent weeks just like on this one model trying to decompose it in 10 different ways that no AI model would do kind of on its own and that I didn't have the time to do myself. So can I automate away a job that's right in my bread and butter that coding models are made to do? It turns out the answer was a decided no.
You know what I would have been really
Use the
interested
coding model to critique their code sometimes. I couldn't get that breadth and also like number of people working on this, even if I had multiple agents working at the same time. Like it still wouldn't have gotten the same kind of results that I got from actual human beings.
I love this. I mean, you didn't do it as an experiment, but this experiment where you gave something to AI, a task to AI to do, and then you effectively gave the task to teams of humans. The humans won in this example. But it took
a lot longer for what's like the results that I didn't want.
But
they indeed weren't what I wanted, but I got them way faster. So like,
here's the experiment I would love to run, and I think it would be successful. So it took you a lot longer to deal with the humans. The dealing with the humans part, I bet you could have leveraged an AI model to do all of the correspondence with the humans. You spend time explaining the task that you need done to the AI, and then the AI, it's given the information I've provided you and following best practices, answer any questions from this team. So they have their, what about this? Or what about this? And here's our results. Looks at it. You're the manager now. I bet it could do the manager part. I bet it could do your job. I'd be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Here's this file that we did, and I'd put that into Claude, and I'd have it do a first pass. Like, here's what it got right, and here's what they probably could have improved on. And I know there are tools that will integrate with other tools like GitHub or whatever, where someone makes a push to their repository, and then it will look at the files and critique. Basically, that is a lot of what I was doing, but I don't know. There also was a bunch of sitting on a call with someone looking at it and saying, well, have we tried X, Y, or Z? That that's the sort of stuff that I was having trouble with the coding models not doing. It's that, I mean, dare I, even though I know I'm on record saying that these are creative models, there is an aspect of creativity or of like, I'm looking at these 5 specific rows on this sheet and like, have we tried this weird thing for this? Or could we like hand code it to do this kind of outcome while still doing machine learning about everything else? And like, if you say, hey, Claude, hey, ChatGPT, hey, whatever, GPT-5, hey, make a machine learning project and feel free to be flexible. Like it still wouldn't do or think of or come up with or implement that outside the box thinking. And you can give it a fairly large box to play around in, but I do think that for good or ill, these models are very good at following what you tell them to do. And so they can't/won't say, having been in this space and exploring it, I'll now just start to kind of go farther afield to solve this really tough problem.
OpenAI recently came out saying that their newest model, GPT-5, actually does stack up against humans in a number of jobs. And this is all around a new benchmark that they've been developing, centered on writing reports. But right. Reports that are specific to various industries, where essentially they have their model, GPT-5, write a report, as well as the current human responsible for said report, and then have the 2 reports graded to see who wrote a better report. And
right, it's research reports for like someone's boss to be reading over. We did research. Here's the outcome of it. And
it was highly competitive. In some areas, it bested it. In other areas, it was a little down, but fair enough to say that for these specific reports, it was comparable. Should I have the human write the report, or should I have GPT-5 write the report? At this point, just have GPT-5 write the report. And I would probably say you should have GPT write the rough draft of the report. Now it gets a little tricky when there's a lot of math involved. I worry about that. Let's say it's the financial report for the year. I don't know that I love the idea of GPT-5 doing the first draft, because something happens, even if they show all their work, when you've shown all the logic about how you came to these conclusions, it becomes harder to find the errors. Rather, if I started and wrote the financial report and did all the math, I feel more confident that there wasn't some like giant lapse of judgment in there.
Right.
But yeah, I buy in report writing that it's competitive with humans.
What I
maybe that's because I never read the reports.
Sure, you have the AI read the report for you.
Exactly. Can you summarize this in one sentence, please?
GPT-5 High scored like 40-ish% on this, and they said that Claude scored 49% with an error bar above the 50%, where they specifically put parity with industry expert. And it's the pairwise comparison of here's the industry expert report, here is the AI report. And so talking about being able to automate jobs, even like maybe if we include the ability to be using Excel and make sure that it does the numbers right that way, we are right up at the point, very, very close to that point where this becomes literally preferential to human experts at that aspect of a job. That's not an entire job, but that is part of a job.
There's a missing piece here, which you and I are both incredibly familiar with. So let's accept this as fact that we are right at the precipice of AI report writers being at the same quality level as human report writers.
Okay.
That's not good enough. And at least in both of our experiences, the AI cannot simply be as good as the human. People don't accept that. People need the AI to be wildly better than the human before they're actually willing to entrust it with these job roles, these job positions. The company, a highly publicly traded company, is not going to say, look, we saw this report and the GPT-5 is just as good as our finance team writing financial reports every year. We're just going to let GPT-5 do it. We're firing the finance team. because both were going to have errors, but it's not acceptable that the AI generated the error. That's considered it's considered irresponsible, right?
Yeah, especially for things like self-driving. I think that we're not going to see that automation kick in until it's way better than people. For things like writing a report, I think it's already been done to a level in many businesses for a couple of years now. And keep in mind, this pairwise preference thing that was in the OpenAI report was for experts. This isn't like we had our intern do it. This is someone who's like supposed to be really, really good at writing these kinds of reports. When I say the X% of people, Y% of cases, Z% of the time, this is on that higher end of people. So, but also, as you said, like, we're not going to fire the finance team. You might not have as big of a finance team if one or two of those people are mostly making the reports. Maybe it comes down to, the CFO has to look at the report that was generated instead.
But what is that part about humans sort of, we want perfection from the technology, and kind of like anything less than perfection is seen as a failure. Even though we accept the imperfection of the humans, we're unwilling to accept the same imperfection from technology.
Because it's a tool. And I think that deep down, we all do recognize that it's a tool. If a hammer 10% of the time hallucinated having hit a nail, that is not very good of a hammer, is it? If, a snow plow misses 10% of the snow on the road that it was supposed to be getting, but it says, no, I got all of the snow, it's not a very good snow plow. If you have a report having been written by an AI that fudged 10% of your financial numbers, that's not a very good AI then, is it? Even if a person might have missed just as much. Not to say that people are regularly missing 10% of the snow on a highway as they're clearing it or whatever, but these tools will always be hallucinating at least a little bit. OpenAI supposedly mathematically proved it. It was far beyond my capability of understanding.
No, but it's like we're willing to
always get things wrong. AI will always get things wrong, and something about human nature is that we're not going to trust these things until they're way better than us.
Like, we're willing to accept that a human has a 1 in 100 chance of killing someone else when they go driving their car, but we're not willing to accept that an AI has a 1 in 200 chance. And these are made up numbers, but we're not willing to give. And is it because we don't trust the numbers instinctually? Like, we don't actually buy that 1 in 200 number, or is it that there has to be a human behind it?
Something about it, yeah. Now, I will say, as much as we were just describing, people are unwilling to trust X, Y, or Z until it's way better than a person. That's objectively not true. People have been using coding models from the very beginning of, your ChatGPT, like 3.5, whatever, utilizing these tools to the best of their ability and automating what they can along the way. As soon as these became available, people started generating LinkedIn posts or emails or this or that or the other thing. As soon as it becomes useful enough to us, as soon as it's worth the bother, and that bother is different for different people in different industries, that's when you replace it. So it doesn't have to be a lot better, but if the finance person says, I know this is going to make like 5% of errors, but it was going to take me 6 hours to make this report, it'll make it in 2 minutes, and then I can spend 1 hour fixing it. That is literally worth it to them.
I think it's the responsibility angle. I think it's that, like, we really value there being, we as human society, we value there being a person who is responsible for this thing. Like, there's someone that we can yell at. Yes, it is the AI sin eater, that it is incredibly important. We would rather, we're going to continue to pay the person in finance who we know, because, by the way, is sensibly using GPT-5 to generate the report and is doing the same numbers, because I need to be able to yell at someone when they missed a number and this number is wrong. And it's not acceptable that you just tell me, well, the AI does have a 3% chance of generating a bad number. It hallucinates 3% of the time. That's not acceptable. I need to be able to say, Bill, you idiot!
You have to yell at someone, right?
You're going to lose your job if this happens again. We apparently, as a human society, value that tremendously. And I don't know how we move past that. Or, I mean, and do we take it to the AI sin eater extreme where it is literally a position to sit there and be the person getting yelled at for all of the AI sins?
I'll happily do that. Hey, for anyone who's hiring sin eaters, I will sit right on the board or in the C-suite or whatever, and anytime something goes wrong because an AI did it, you can yell at me. And
there's like a room at the office, and
yep,
you just go in there.
Into the distance. Well, if you want to learn how to eat all the AI sins out there.
Yeah, how can I do that, Daniel?
Slurp them up with a nice marinara sauce that Claude told you how to make.
Okay.
You could subscribe to us. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're anywhere that you could subscribe to podcasts. Think of one. A weird one of the like esoteric ones. I bet we're on that too. We're probably all over the place. You already found us somehow. Maybe a friend sent you a link. Maybe you're about to send some links to some other friends because you like the podcast so much. Or leave a comment or a thumbs up or some stars or whatever. We love seeing some feedback. You give us some. We'll love it.
You heard it there, folks. We'll eat it up right on the next episode of...
They might be self-aware.